So, I always knew when I was a little girl that I wanted to do something prestigious, something important, something that would challenge me and really be fun, right? Every single day. And my mom and my brother, like my family really poured a lot into me. I've never like once, I guess, thought I couldn't do something. It was just a matter of how. So starting at home, my mom and brother really helped me build the confidence to know I can be whoever I want to be. And adding to that, my 7th grade science teacher, after our science debate, or maybe it was during our science debate, pulled me to the side and was like, "Hey, Asia, you're really quiet in class. I did not know you had that in you. Like, you need to be a lawyer. You need to be an attorney. That's it. That's it. I'm dying on that hill." And it really put the battery in my back, honestly, to be like, oh, I knew I could do it, but now I know I could do it. Like that little tidbit of belief really did something for my confidence, really did something for my self-worth, I guess self-esteem, if you will, as to what I could do and what I could accomplish. So I would say my family support coupled with that one person that believed in me really gave me all that I needed to be like, you know what, I could do this. I'm gonna do this, and that's it. So I would say it started when I was really young as to who am I gonna be, who will Asia be when she grows up, and then I pretty much was sold in middle school that it was gonna be an attorney. So I got really good grades in high school to get into a relatively decent college. I went to a small college. In college, I was first generation, so I struggled a little bit my first year. After I got my grades my first year, I really was like, okay, something's got to change. So that was the first thing I did. I got my grades up, took school way more seriously. After transitioning, or sort of having a transition phase from sophomore to junior year, I really put my nose down, joined mock trial, became an RA, became an OL, started to get some internships under my belt, and really continued to get really good grades in undergrad. After getting relatively good grades, I had a major life change and had to take some time off of school, and spent that time working at a large financial institution. Working at that financial institution reminded me of my original dream, which was to be an attorney. Because I had to take time out of school, I really struggled for a period after undergrad where I was trying to find who I was again. I really one day just woke up and was like, I cannot spend another year in this job. And not that I hated my job, I really loved where I was at that time in the company, and I was like being promoted consistently. So I know if I would have stayed, I would have eventually done really well. But it wasn't the dream, right? It wasn't what 7th grade Asia wanted to do and be. It wasn't what 5 or 6 year Asia wanted to be. It was something that I think now looking back was invaluable to my current professional experience, and it really was God aligning the steps of my life in a way that is just divine. Only He could have been involved, right? But I took time off after undergrad and was really working, spending time with my family. And I want to say January 2018, after a church sermon, I really was like, yo, something's got to change. Like, I got to really figure out what's going on. Where am I going to be? What am I going to do? So I think that was the first time at like 24 years old that I was like, okay, I need to pursue this goal that I always had, this dream that I always had. I can't give up on myself. And I started then planning to take that spring LSAT. And honestly, this was something that I experienced in undergrad too. I really, not to sort of toot my own horn, but I'm definitely a naturally smart kind of person. So I never had to like study really hard for Regents exams or high school exams or even an undergrad. Like I really sort of showed up to class, understood what was going on, read a couple articles, skimmed through the textbooks, and was getting A's and B's with no problem. So sitting down for the LSAT was something that was foreign to me, because I'm like, oh, I don't need to study for this test. I got it. Like I'm smart, I can figure it out. And I would say that's probably the first mistake I made, is not taking the LSAT more serious. But regardless of that, I took it in undergrad, didn't like the score I got, took it again when I made the decision in 2018 that I was going to go back to law school. And again, didn't really like the score that I got. It was so difficult juggling working full time, having a family, and really trying to do well on that exam. So I would say that's probably another thing I did. I just really didn't appreciate the time that was needed to put into taking the LSAT. So when I took it for the last time, I got a score. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna just apply places. My GPA from undergrad is decent. The LSAT score is not the best, but it'll get me somewhere. And at that point, I was desperate. I was like, I'm gonna be a lawyer. I know I'm gonna be a lawyer. God showed me this. It's just a matter of who's gonna accept me at this point. And for some people, that may not be what you want, that you may want to go to Harvard. Yale may be your one and only choice, so your path will look a little different. But for me, at that point, I just needed to be accepted somewhere. I needed somebody's school to say, she's a good fit, we believe in her. And that's when I received my acceptance letter from the Florida A&M University College of Law. Love my alma mater, love the fact that I was able to attend an HBCU at some point in my life. Like, it was something I always thought about in undergrad, because I was heavily involved in the Black Student Union and all of the other Black organizations on campus. And I really appreciated being around other intelligent and talented Black people. So I was happy that I got to have that experience in law school and to be taught the law by brilliant professors. My professors went to Yale, they went to Harvard, they went to the top 14 law schools, and I loved my degree. I don't think that, or that degree, I loved my legal law school experience. I don't think there was any other place for me to have gone, honestly. I don't think I would have been happy anywhere else looking back on it. And of course, I don't know, because I stayed at my school, I got accepted, stayed there, and I've been doing well. But for my personality, for me, it worked out perfect. And that is honestly probably a quick and dirty as to my journey. I took time off from undergrad before I went to law school. I worked, I built my professional rapport in the city that I lived in. And then after that, really woke up one day and was like, I can't keep sleeping on myself. I can't let this dream just pass me by. Like, it's been delayed long enough. And I made a decision, and I really just stood on it. I took the LSAT, got accepted into law school, started that fall, and it was really up from there. I mentioned a little bit earlier in the video that working after undergrad was God aligning the steps of my life perfectly. And I say that because I did not go to a top 14, top 25, or even top 50 law school. My school is not ranked that high, but again, a quality education, absolutely quality education. So I knew after working for a corporate bank, like a sort of corporate atmosphere, that I wanted to have the big law experience. Now, what I experienced in law school was, oh my God, some of these big law firms are just not interested in these lower ranked law schools. What do I do? So I applied to I had really good grades in law school. I applied to some really big name firms in the city and even some in Florida. And I wasn't being denied, I just wasn't hearing back at all. So I was like, what is going on? And before I went to law school, while I worked at the bank, I had built some really amazing connections. Like, my mentor was the executive vice president of Treasury, and to this day is still my mentor, a beloved friend of mine. And God aligned the steps of my life in a way that I can't even place into words. I really can't. When I was at the bank, I started as a temp, and I got an offer. I took it like, yes, I need it. It was hard to find a job after undergrad. Maybe if y'all are interested, I'll make a video about my sort of, quarter life crisis after undergrad, or early life crisis. But navigating life after undergrad is trauma that nobody prepares you for, nobody talks to you about. And I was struggling. And when I got that temp job at the bank, I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I know I'm gonna work here. I just kept telling myself, like, I'm gonna get a job here. And lo and behold, after like six weeks, honestly, I was offered a permanent position. And they even at that point negotiated higher than what they were offering for starting pay. So after undergrad, I was making, at that time, which sounds like a little bit of money now, but I was making like $16.78, and you couldn't tell me nothing. Okay? I was so happy. I could afford my little car payment for my Nissan. I was able to, pay my bills. I was happy, no complaints. I was like, listen, living the dream in every way, shape, or form. But after time, I was starting to, I don't want to say grow bored, but I was growing bored. I wasn't being challenged enough in my role. So I started to seek other roles within the company. And I was having a lot of internal interviews, meeting a lot of great people. I was like, I need to be an analyst. They do challenging work. It's different all the time. They're pulled in on really cool projects at the bank. I need to change it up. I can't do this sort of back office processing. It's just not doing anything for me intellectually. And again, God aligning the steps in my life. At my job, it was grades, right? It was like grade 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you got to higher grades, like 10, 11. And the higher the grade, the higher the pay. And at some point you become salaried, right? I think it was like at grade 8 or 9, you became salaried and you start at a certain pay structure at that level. I was a grade 6 at the time, so I was only applying to grade 7s, grade 8s if I was feeling a little spicy. I'm like, I have a degree. I can do the work. It's just a matter of someone internally seeing me, liking me, thinking I'm a good fit for the team. So at that time, I was only applying. But one day, I don't know, I think I was really feeling myself, y'all, because I applied to like a grade 8 or 9, which is like you need to have like a master's in finance to get those types of jobs at the bank. And all I had was my little bachelor's degree and a nice little smile that I was going to offer up nothing. And obviously like my experience thus far in the company. So I had an understanding and appreciation for the company culture. But I applied for a grade 9 or 8 position in technology and the manager just loved me. He was just like, we need someone with your personality in this level. He said, now, it's not for what you apply for. He said, if you want this job, you can take it, but I think you do great in a different role. And I was like, okay, like, fine. And I was walking away like, I hope this man will try to play me and try to put me in a grade 6. That's all I was thinking about. I was like, no, it just doesn't seem like it. Later that day, he sends me the rec. It's a grade 10, y'all. I looked up the pay. I was like, oh my God. I could not believe this man was offering me an even higher paying job. I was like, yo, no way. He sent it over to me. He's like, hey, take as much time as you need, but the job is yours if you want it. I was like, hell yeah. After I looked at the pay structure, I had to take it. I said, this is God, because ain't no way in the world I applied for this little grade 8, grade 9, and this man is giving me a job with a substantial higher pay. There's just no way I'm turning it down. And the best part about it, which I didn't know until I got the job rec, was that I literally got to work hand in hand with the board of directors, the president of the bank, the CEO, CFO, CIO, COO. I was working with the big dogs. Y'all, I went from back office supporting branch managers and assistant branch managers to working with the chief executive officer of the bank. If y'all don't believe in God, just based off that little bit of my story alone, I don't know what to tell you. So I get this new job with the bigwigs at the bank, and I didn't know what to do, y'all. And if I'm being honest, I was like, in my opinion, I was not qualified for that. I didn't have no tech background. I was like, I can smile and work an iPhone, but I really don't know. I can't set up printers and all that. And my boss that interviewed me at the time was like, we're going to teach you. That stuff is teachable. You have what most people I hire don't have. You have a personality. And I was like, period. I do. A big one too. I hope y'all ready. Don't change your mind when I get there, because I'm there and y'all gonna have to pull me out kicking and screaming, okay? And I want to say I started that role in January 2018, and I was so excited, y'all. They was feeding me filet for lunch. I was speaking to the CEO, COO, CFO, and president like it was nobody's business every single day. And I think what God needed me to experience in that was that I'm about to take you to higher levels. Can you handle this first task? And I would say I think I did really, really well. Like, so well that when I left, I already mentioned I built mentors, but when I left, I had been able to sort of let them know, like, I love working here. I want to come back. Like, yes, law school is next, but who knows what's in the future, 3, 5, 10 years from now. And my mentor at the time, the executive vice president of Treasury, he was like, listen, call me, stay in touch. Like, I'm really sad to see you go. He said, I don't tell everybody that. And that's exactly what I did, y'all. When I went to law school, I sent him pictures of my apartment, of the campus. I told him about my first grades. Like, I stayed in touch. I contacted him around holidays. And then guess what? I was not hearing back from the big law firms for a role. And I knew at the time that working at a bank meant I would be in-house, but I was like, listen, I love that bank. It was such a positive work experience, and there was a good work-life balance. I was like, listen, if they're gonna give me a job, I might as well just go back there until I can figure out what's next. And what happened was, when I was not hearing back from the big law firms, I called up my mentor at the bank, and he was like, hey, I'm gonna call up the head of our legal department and see what they can do, but don't worry about it. You'll more than likely be working, coming back home for the summer. And I was like, you know what? I'll take it. I would have preferred to been able to stay in Florida for the summer, stay with my family and friends, but that's not how God aligned the cards. I had applied to hundreds of places. I didn't hear back. And honestly, if I'm being real with y'all, this is also a test of God, because taking the legal internship position at the bank was, y'all, it was half of what I was making when I left the bank. It was the biggest pay cut. I actually lost money taking the job, but I prayed about it. I said, God, I'm gonna do this, because guess what? I know something greater lies ahead. I just know it. I know it. And I did that, y'all. I was on a little budget. I was making like $10 or $15 an hour. Nothing crazy. I don't even think it couldn't have been more than $15 an hour. Because I remember getting my first paycheck, like, what am I gonna do about bills? Like, traveling back and forth, like, what am I gonna do? I don't even know how I did it, y'all, but I figured it out. Financially, I just figured it out. And guess what? While I was at the bank, my mentor connected me with the chief diversity officer of the firm that I'm at now. The biggest law firm in the city that I live in, has offices all across the East Coast. And y'all, the big law firm life that I want. Like, I could not ask for a better firm to work for. I was a little worried before I interviewed, because I didn't know about the firm. I didn't know enough about the culture or history of the firm. So I had to do a lot of research before I started my interview process. And it just went great. It was literally like, when I say what God has for you, nobody can take away. When I told people back at school my story as to how I got my summer associate position for second year summer, they were like, what? Like, that's crazy. But I think my story is a prime example of, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Because at my firm, there are people who go to Harvard. There are people who went to Yale. There are people who went to this top 100 law school, top 50, top 25, top 14. One of my great friends at the firm went to Georgetown Law. Like, so I think, a testament of building positive professional relationships, maintaining that rapport, and really harnessing the culture and community that you built with what you got. And honestly, everyone's journey won't look like mine. I'm very non-traditional. I was a non-traditional student going into undergrad, non-traditional law student starting with a family and having taken several years off. Every way, shape, or form that you can think of, I'm non-traditional. And God still said, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna build you up. He called me to be on this journey. He's prepared me along the way, and I have been blessed immensely. Honestly, more than I could even share without busting out in tears. But that is how I got to becoming now a labor and employment attorney at my firm. Again, large law firm. We have over 200 attorneys, over 50 practice groups. Like, it's definitely the best case scenario for me. And I could not be more blessed. I could not be more happy with where I am. If you guys want to know more about my work-life balance, my practice, the kind of work that I do, let me know in the comments. I'll do a video on that. I really think my, theme of my channel will be not just a lawyer, because one thing I hate with a passion is people that make being an attorney their personality. Like, I came from the hood, y'all. I came from the trenches. And even with this accomplishment, I am more than that. I think I would say I'm more proud of making it out the hood than being an attorney, because at the end of the day, like, I don't know, I feel like anybody could get here. I feel like anybody that believes in themselves and is willing to do the work can be here. I think people that make it out of nothing have more grit. They have more understanding of adversity, of trauma, and of what it takes to succeed and to reach a goal. And honestly, some of those people are few and far in between, because we're so enwrapped in our surroundings that we don't even realize that we can make it. We don't know that all we have is what we have, right? All we have is already inside of us. That's enough to get where we want to be. And I don't know, I don't want to make my channel about being an attorney, but if that's what y'all want to hear about, if that's what y'all want to talk about, I'm more than happy to share, to be open about this experience. Every day has not been pretty. Everything has not gone the way I expected it to. But guess what? I'm on this journey gracefully. I'm trusting in God along the way, keeping God first in every little thing that I do. And it's been fun. It's been fun so far. And again, if you guys want to know more about what it is to be an attorney, more, I guess, a detailed video about, I don't know, grades in undergrad or the LSAT, let me know. But moving on to the next portion of the video, which I know some people are going to be more, I guess, here for, is the process to getting into law school. Okay. Tip number 1, getting good grades. Now, for some people, my tips may be out of order, so I apologize in advance, but this is, to me, what makes sense. If you want to be a lawyer, unfortunately, you gotta have good grades to get into law school. Now, I truly believe in my heart and soul that you don't need to be smart to be an attorney or even a good attorney. You just gotta be disciplined and hardworking. And honestly, I think that is what many people think. They think every lawyer is smart. Unfortunately, in this profession, I've met a lot of unintelligent attorneys. They just clearly have a lot of time on their hands, which means they have a lot of time to put into the craft. But intelligence does not come for everybody. It does not come easily for all. Common sense ain't so common. I hate to tell y'all, it's not. So don't think that you have to be a Harvard or Yale, Princeton grad to go to law school. No, you don't. I just shared with you guys, I did not go to a top law school and I still made it to big law. It's possible, right? But if big law is your goal, then that means you're going to be coming from, honestly, getting exceptional grades, maybe valedictorian level in high school, going to a top school, and then doing exceptionally well there to get into a top law school. I will say going to top schools does change your sort of, I guess, job pool. I'm not going to lie about that, y'all. Unfortunately, we live in a very superfluous world. People care more about your school than they do about your personality. Firms care more about who you know at Harvard more than how can you move around the room? How can you attract clients? It's sad, but it's a reality. And I respect the Black lawyers and everyone else that goes to Harvard or Yale. It's an accomplishment and you should be proud, especially the people that, come from nothing and get accepted into these top schools. That, to me, I love those stories. I love hearing those stories because that gives me fire, right? Fire under my butt. I can do all the things in my heart, all the things I'm passionate about. And don't count yourself out. If you have exceptional grades, you know what? Put yourself out there. Apply to the top schools. But there are other schools that will give you a quality legal education that are not Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Georgetown, Duke. You'll get into the school that you are supposed to be at, and you should make the best of your experience there. Tip number 2, get a good LSAT score. And what does that mean? That means you have to put in the time. I think y'all kind of gleaned from my video, the first part of my video, like I didn't do that. I regret it, y'all. I regret it sometimes because I really believe that if I had the resources and the information that I have now, I really could have been a Harvard or Yale law grad. And I think that my life would look way different than it does now if I had that experience. But I'm grateful for where I am. I would not change it. I just wish that I thought different. I even wish sometimes, like, dang, I wish I would have applied to Howard Law. Like, I wish I would have done things a bit more different, but I just wasn't thinking like that. So again, LSAT, 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 LSAT. It's so important to treat LSAT studying like a job. Create a study schedule. Buy a course. Nowadays, you can get most of these courses for free. I would recommend that because I spent at the time, y'all, it was so hard to save. I had saved like $1,500 of my hard-earned little money, and I was not making a lot of money at the time. Life was lifing. I used every ounce of little savings that I had in the moment to pay for a professional commercial course. And guess what, y'all? My score was higher when I self-studied. My score was higher, and I was attending all the video lessons. I was doing all the assigned homework. For whatever reason, y'all, it did not work for me. And I really tried to reach out to the teachers of the course, the tutors. They were terrible. Highly would not recommend. I just wouldn't do it. Find the free courses. I heard that Khan Academy has free courses. I heard that LSAC, the Law School Admissions Council's website, they have free stuff. Get the free stuff. At the end of the day, you need to know how to apply the rules. You need to know how to take a test. I believe that the LSAT is your first sort of experience with what law school would be like. And what law school is high key about is being a really good test taker and being disciplined. Very little about how smart you are. There were people in my law school class that I spoke to them and felt like the dumbest person in the world after. I'm like, yo, she is very smart. She is intimidating, but I'm gonna be her friend because she's smart. And they got dropped after the first semester. I was like, I know good and well Miss Smarty Pants did not get dropped. The way she was in class answering them questions, I could not make it make sense. I'm telling y'all, it's not about being smart. It's about the time, putting the time in and knowing how to maneuver. Knowing how to maneuver. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Are you gonna stay up all night and study? Are you gonna really read these cases over and over again until it makes sense? Are you gonna read all the supplements on top of the casebook and then outline? Are you gonna do the work? The LSAT is your first test on will you do the work? All you need to do is do the work, y'all. When it comes to LSAT prep, take the practice test, self-grade, read the questions you got wrong, figure out why you got it wrong, and then move from there. And I promise you, you will get the LSAT score that you want to get into the law school that you want to go to. So again, tip number 2, take LSAT studying serious. Don't be like me. Don't think because you're smart, you can walk into that test and get a 180 because you won't. You won't do it. I'm sorry, you won't. When I hear stories about people that did that, I'm like, okay, you're a good test taker. That don't mean you're smart. You're a good test taker. You have a high reading comprehension level. That's what you have. You're not extremely intelligent, right? They're, again, telling y'all, a lot of attorneys are not that smart. Mark my words. When you become an attorney and opposing counsel does some crazy crap, you're gonna be like, I see what Asia was talking about. Common sense ain't so common. Tip number 3. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, this probably should have been tip number 1, but I already told y'all my tips might be out of order. So take the information and do what you will with it. But tip number 3, create a plan of action. And I think this plan of action really should be started maybe first semester, second semester at the latest of your freshman year of undergrad. If you have even the slightest interest in being an attorney, create the action plan ASAP. Honestly, in high school, if your mentor in high school is a lawyer, ask them what it looks like. What is their work-life balance? What did they do? What school did they go to? How hard did they have to work? Ask the lawyers you know. And if you don't know a lawyer, take your butt on the bus and go to a courthouse and stop an attorney after a court session. Court sessions are public, free to public. Go in there, sit down in the back with your little notepad, take notes, ask either the judge or a lawyer at the end, hey, do you have a moment? I'd like to ask you a couple questions on law school. There may be a couple mean ones, you may not get a nice person, but you're gonna find that one person that appreciates the fact that you took your butt there and sat just to ask them a question. You're gonna get at least one person that's gonna answer your question. So do that. Make a plan. What school do you want to go to? That dictates the first 2 tips. LSAT and GPA. What school do you want to go to? Where do you want to live? Where do you want to work? What bar exam do you want to take? Creating an action plan is so important because then you'll know which schools to apply to, how high your LSAT score needs to be, how high your GPA needs to be, quite frankly. And all of that dictates the effort you have to put into to reach the goal that you want, right? The action plan, y'all pray over it, fast over it if you have to. Put some real time and effort into it, because that is really gonna be the thing that you take with you on that journey, on this journey, until you get to where you need to be, which is law school, and then bar exam, and then Esquire, and then you're an attorney. So yes, tip number 3, absolutely, positively create a plan of action. If you guys want to know more about how a plan of action may look, or even more details on what I've already provided, leave a comment and I'll do another video on that. Tip number 4, visit different law schools. Honestly, you should know by now from tip number 3 which schools you're interested in, what states you want to live in, what bar you want to take. Visit all of the law schools in that area or around that area. You should do that because you know what? Knowing your campus and how your school culture is so important. It's so important. It's something that I didn't appreciate at the time when I was applying for schools, because like I told you, I was desperate. I just needed to get accepted into a school. I was like, Lord, I just need to be an attorney. I don't care where I gotta go, what I gotta do. God, just please align the steps. Help me, help me, help me. But some of y'all may have more time. You may have more money. You may have more resources. And if you do, visit those campuses. See how far the apartment is that you're interested in or want to live in is from campus. Y'all, time is so important. It's so important in law school. It's so important in life, honestly. If y'all want a video about time, I'll even do that, okay? But truly, knowing where you're gonna live, the proximity that is to campus is so important, because how long is the commute? How big is the campus? Where is parking? Like all of this stuff, I promise you, becomes a thing. In law school, I used to be like, okay, it takes me 15 minutes to get home from campus. Like, all right, I'm gonna have 2.5 hours before I gotta start reading. I'm gonna have like everything. I was mapping out the seconds and minutes of my day. And now, as a billing associate at a large law firm, I do the same thing. Map out my hours, minutes, and seconds of the day, because that's how I stay on top of what's important, prioritize, and do what I need to do. Honestly, God has had his hand all up and through my legal career, my law school journey, and literally the moment I decided I wanted to be an attorney, and it was a part of his plan for my life, because I didn't do any of the stuff I'm telling y'all. I wish that I would have thought to do it, but I didn't, because I didn't have the resources or the information to do that. Honestly, or the money. I didn't. My brother paid for me to come to school because I was going to take a year off and stay at the bank because I had just got the raise and I was going to save. And honestly, looking back on my life, it worked out the way it was supposed to. Family helped me get me and my family to Florida from New York, and it was a blessing. But had I known, you know, how far I lived from campus, or that there was other apartments near campus, or honestly that Orlando was going to be under construction for 75 years, then guess what? I would have thought about maybe living somewhere different. Honestly, again, God aligned the steps in my life. I found the perfect apartment at the perfect price range, the perfect distance from, like, everything was perfect. I stayed in my same apartment for all 3 years of law school, and like it worked out in my favor. But again, if you're a non-traditional student like I was, you may have a family. You may be bringing a family and children, children and a spouse to law school. How far are child care centers from campus? How far are those child care centers from your home? All of that, I promise you, becomes so important when you're trying to figure out how to get a last case in before class starts. When you're trying to figure out, how far you want to live. It matters more than I can even stress today. Like, truly visit those schools. I remember when I was like really first interested in law school, or not first interested, but first like taking it serious in undergrad. And yeah, I was looking at schools. I was like, maybe I want to go to school by a beach. Like, I was looking at schools. They have pictures of the beach on their website. Come to find out, the beach ain't nowhere near that school, because guess what? It was down the street from my law school. I'm like, the beach is 50 minutes from us. Why would they lie? Like, crazy. When you apply to these schools, before you accept an offer that they give you, go visit, because visiting the campus may make or break your decision. And honestly, sometimes you visit a campus and it's the perfect school for you. It's exactly what you thought. It's everything you dreamed of, and that makes the decision all the more better. So again, tip number 4, go to those schools, fill out the culture, find out where the apartments are, childcare centers, parking, all of that, because that is so important. That's where you're going to spend the next 3 years of your life, and you want it to be everything that you can imagine. So guys, I hope this has been insightful. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about me and my journey into becoming an attorney. I hope the tips are useful. Honestly, there are so many videos on YouTube and all over the internet about becoming an attorney. I really wasn't gonna do this, but because I'm just starting out my channel, I thought it was a nice foundational video to have, because someone may see this and it may be that push that they need to just get it started. And I think I want to just close the video with letting y'all know that God is real. God will align the steps of your life that conform to the plan He has for your life. If you believe in yourself and believe that God answers prayers, I promise you, it will come to fruition. You can do it. Like, I believe in you. I know that you can do it. If I can do it after all I've experienced in my life, I promise you, it is nothing but a matter of when it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Don't cry over how, don't cry over what you don't got. Just focus on the goal. Trust in God. I promise. Delayed does not mean denied. You got it. I believe in you, and I hope this was helpful. Much love to everybody. Bye.